What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. Woo! Thank you. Thank you, Super Deluxe. Thank you, Super Deluxe. You knew if you caught me at the beginning of the stream and you made a wild-ass suggestion, I would go for it. And I did. And I wonder how many of you guys thought I wouldn't make it to 20. Come on. You didn't, did you? Oh. I don't know what to do about the nipples, guys. I'm sorry. Am I mewing? Was that it? Welcome to the live stream. Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but I have a surprise. For someone who exercises as little as I do, I have a surprising level of base fitness. It's not a high level, but it is surprising. It's surprising, given how out of shape I am. Hummer grip, super sticky battery pad. Why is there not a scissors in my desk? There should be a scissors in my desk. It's a little weird. Is that an improvement? I'm not sure that's an improvement. Okay. Welcome to the live stream. You're probably wondering what we do here. That's not it. We answer questions about drones. Feel free to ask your questions here in the YouTube chat, here in the Discord server. Welcome. Welcome, Discord patrons. And leave a super chat. Hit the $, leave a super chat if you would like to. Blunty's queuing your questions up. We're going to get right into it. Let's find a really good one. I am still slightly out of breath from those push-ups, even though that was not that much exercise, and it's been, a good 5 minutes. Like I said, I'll whip out 20 push-ups, but then I'll be winded afterwards. That's where I'm at. Let's see here. Let's find a good one. Oh, here we go. JB, are you still a part of Rotor Riot? Feel like it's been a year since we've seen you. Yeah, it has. I'm still a Rotor Riot cast member officially. I feel like at this point it's a little bit more of an honorary title than anything else, because it has been a long time. I keep getting invited to come shoot episodes, and I keep having my schedule has just gotten busy, and I have my own stuff going on. And, whereas it used to be when Rotor Riot said, do you want to go shoot episodes? That was the most interesting and entertaining thing I could think of to do with my time. Now, there's, other stuff going on, and so there you go. But I'm still, in all the group chats. I still speak with them sometimes about product releases and reviews and just how things are going in general. I still express opinions, maybe that I have no right to express because I am not as active in the actual day-to-day participation in the company and the channel. But yeah, they're still my buds, and so I'm still officially a cast member. Every time I think I haven't been in an episode. Excuse me. I haven't been in an episode in forever. Should I tell them hey, take my name off the website? Then I'm like, well, I don't want to do that, right? Especially because the minute I do that, there's going to be a huge amount of drama. Why did Bardwell leave Rotor Riot? Why did he leave? Whoa! I heard this. I heard that. Bardwell left Rotor Riot. I mean, I hope that would be drama, because I would like to think that I'm relevant enough that if my name disappeared from the Rotor Riot website, people would notice. But so in a way, it's more fun to just kind of stay and do the fade. And then eventually, when my name is taken off the website because I'm no longer relevant, no one will care. And I'll feel like I beat the internet drama mongers, right? Because I managed to do something that would have been dramatic, and I did it quietly without anyone noticing. Something like that. Anyway, yeah, those guys are doing fun stuff. It's really fun to go back. It's really fun. I find it really entertaining. I'm gonna be self-indulgent. It's the last show before Christmas. I'm gonna be a little self-indulgent in the content that I show and choose to make it during the stream. If we go to videos and we go to oldest, and I don't like to play the game of Rotor Riot was better back in the day. Like I don't like to play that game. But what I do like to do, I like to go back and look at some of the old Rotor Riot videos sometimes. And there was a different vibe. There's no doubt there was a different vibe. And it's like, you go see the Rolling Stones in 1979, and you go see the Rolling Stones in 2009, and they're playing the same songs, but it's a different vibe, right? So vibes change over the years. That's neither a good thing nor a bad thing. It's just a thing. But it was a different vibe. It was a simpler vibe in some ways. It was a more raw vibe in some ways. I do think it's really interesting. One of my favorite episodes to look at way back when, let's see, is Grocery Store Race. Boy, I'm going to guess that all this music is free to use and I won't get a copy strike or anything. My favorite episodes to look at is Grocery Store Race, because there's fundamentally nothing going on in this video. There's no concept in this video. It's just we went to a grocery store and we flew our drones around, and yet somehow this video just clicks for me.
Whoa! Somebody stop this, please.
Just put a smile on my face, this music does. asked myself, let me turn this down slightly. Would this hold up today? If someone released this video today, would people watch it? Or do I just have nostalgia for this? I don't know. People who are new to FPV, is this interesting content to you? Like, it's charming in a way to me. Fundamentally, nothing's happening. But I just find it really charming. Just some dudes being dumb in a grocery store with their drones. And I'm really curious if I find it charming because of nostalgia, or if other people also find it charming. I don't know. Anyway, so they flew around for a while. It's just kind of going on for a long time. To just be flying around. It's going on for a minute.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Tommy, and welcome to...
Here we are, 2 minutes, 23 seconds into the video before somebody, like, started YouTubing at the audience. We got 2 minutes and 23 seconds of just effing around before anybody was like, welcome to Rotor Riot. Whereas I think a lot of times you look at YouTube content now and it's like, we must hook them! We must get the retention! Immediately we got the click, now we have to get the retention! Welcome to the channel, I'm so-and-so, I'm super high energy, and please don't click away!
To this episode of Rotor Riot. I am super excited. As you can
Look
see,
at
we're
the
at
color
this huge
grade is
grocery store. Check
not
this
great.
out.
Look-
Our producers have placed 3 gates randomly in some of these aisles. The first pilot to go through all 3 gates wins. So I'm gonna go get ready now because I'm up against some really good pilots. So
Yeah, these are definitely cameras from 8 years ago.
The goal is to just see how close I can get to him without actually hitting him.
Anyway.
Yeah, in the back there, but it's flyable.
I think it's really interesting. You look at content like this, and people say the older content was better, but like, Rotor Riot, such a sellout. You mean like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th video ever posted to their YouTube channel, which is an interview with Chase Aston from Rebel Batteries, which like it was basically product placement. I don't know if it was paid or not, probably wasn't. But like, if Rotor Riot put out this video today, people would be like, show! So like, a Tyrannus review. Yeah.
Used to fly, so looking forward.
Calling Tommy on the call.
Screen for 10 whole seconds.
Alright, let him know what's going on.
Just guys being dorks.
We're actually gonna go pick Carlos up, and then we're gonna go to the flying spot. All right, let's.
I flew this spot. Anyway. Whereas, you know, if you go today.
All right, so we're here at the Northwest FPV Park, and it's been a couple years since Rotor Riot crew came out here, and a lot has changed. There's new sections of the park,
you got long hair.
new obstacles. We've got lighting out there, so come on with me. We're gonna check it out.
I always have a problem. Do I look at the camera or look at you? Yeah. Or
Yeah,
the
we're
lens,
talking to
right?
each other,
I'm always looking at the person
talking to
behind
them.
the camera.
I would say look at the camera, address the camera.
Park,
Yeah.
getting rid of a lot of these branches. I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty
okay.
Less than
the
See, I'm already.
foot pipes
The minimum that you.
to some
It's a lot of
extent.
explaining.
Yeah, but we wanted a big.
It's a lot of
super
talking.
dark in there, so
Like I don't know. We're just a lot of talking about what you're gonna do. Like,
we want something that you, but also of them you can shoot up them.
Oh,
There's a lot
finally
of
some
variety
flying.
because we've
no.
got 3 of them set up here. But yeah, I think.
oh, okay, here we go. Flying. 143. We got some flying. I don't know. Content's different. Anyway, thanks for going with me on that little trip down memory lane. Let's get back to work. Speaking of which, Bardwell spent 19 minutes bullshitting about the old days without answering any questions from the audience. So he's complaining about other people's content. I miss the old days. Patrick Carroll asks, I'm a noob, and this is a guess, but I wonder if after a crash, if a bent bell could be easily replaced using a hex driver to pull the screw and swap the bell instead of pulling the whole motor. Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000% you could do that. Absolutely. I've seen people do that. 1,000%. The only thing I would say is if the motor screws often have red Loctite on them, which means you cannot take the screw out without heating it. If you try to turn the screw and it doesn't break loose, you are going to strip the screw. So if you start to turn that screw and it's just not giving at all, what you got to do is you got to get a soldering iron out. And what you do is you put your finger on the top of the shaft where the nut is, and you put the soldering iron on the screw at the bottom of the shaft on the screw head, and you wait till you feel the shaft start to get warm with your finger on top, and that means the heat has penetrated through and the Loctite is hot, and then you can break that screw loose. But yeah, 1,000% you could do that. It's Blunty wants to know, or Tom Zaboral wants to know, is there a workaround to save the RC Link preset into one RC profile in Betaflight only? Well, let's figure that out. Here's how we're going to figure that out. If the hole doesn't go through the arm, then you can't get at that screw. No, clearly. So what I want to do is this. I want to connect and I want to go to the preset tab and I want to look at the RC Link presets. And I'm going to look at the RC Link preset that I'm selecting, like TBS Tracer 250 Hertz. I'm going to select my option and then I'm going to do Show CLI. Okay. And what I'm going to want to do is, can I just copy paste this? Yeah, let's copy paste this. Come on now. Oh, shut up. Oh, shut up. Okay, well, I hope that's all of it. I'm going to copy that, and I'm just going to put that in Notepad real quick. Okay, so now I've got that in Notepad. And what I want to do is I'm going to close that. And I'm going to go to the CLI tab. I'm going to type dump all. And what I want to do is I want to look for these options and see where they are. Okay? In fact, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy that to clipboard. I'm going to run another instance of Notepad. I'm going to paste that in there. So now, let's see, feed forward averaging. Okay, where is feed forward averaging? Here it is. Do you see that that is not inside a profile? Here is my PID profile number 1. You guys may not be able to read that. Let's zoom in here. Here is PID profile number 1, where it says, where it says profile 1. Okay, that's PID profile number 1. Everything in here is in PID profile number 1. Here's PID profile number 2. Everything in here is in PID profile 2. You following me? And then if we get all the way down here, we've got our rate profiles, okay? So when I look and I find feed forward averaging, here's feed forward averaging. Do you see that that is not inside? Oh, it is. Oh, yay, profile 0. Oh, good, I was about to be wrong. That's in profile 0. Okay, my mistake. I misspoke. Profile 0 is PID profile 1 because programmers start from 0. Profile 1 is PID profile 2. It's off by 1. My bad. I'll be right in the end. So feed forward averaging is in the PID profile. Feed forward smooth factor. Oh no. There we go. Feed forward smooth factor is in the PID profile. So I think what we're going to find is that these things are in the PID profile. Okay? RC smoothing, where's that? Set RC smoothing equals on. Scroll up, look. Where is that? Oops, that's in master. That's not in the PID profile. RC smoothing auto factor. Where's that? That's in the master. That's not in the PID profile. So what you're going to find is that some of these options are in the PID profile. Some are not. Okay? And some maybe even are in the rate profile. I don't know. But you need to look that stuff up, and that'll answer your question.
And just to be clear, when you apply that preset, any of those that apply to the rate profile will apply to the rate profile you're currently on, right?
Correct.
And then if you change rate profiles, those feed-forward settings would leave, but the other settings would stay or whatever.
So if you are using multiple rate profiles for any reason, you would need to save the preset on every single one of the rate profiles you're using. Otherwise, when you change rate profiles, some, but not all of those will change. Actually, I didn't verify for a fact that any of these are in the rate profile. They may not be. So hang on. We know they're in the PID profile, but people don't typically change PID profiles. PID profiles can only be changed like at power up or with stick command when you're disarmed, but not in flight.
Good call.
Yeah. So most of the time people aren't changing PID profiles, you know, except sometimes you change PID profiles automatically based on your battery cell count when you plug in. But generally people would just keep the same PID profile while they're flying. So here's rate profile. And no, see, none of these things are related to the RC Link preset. So, yeah. So the question was, can you save the RC Link preset in one profile? Yes. Some of it is in one PID profile. It is not global for all profiles, though. Some of the options, like RC smoothing, are global for all profiles. Others of the options are in the PID profile, like the feed-forward averaging and the feed-forward smoothing. And no, there is no way to change those things if you're going, say, from Gemini 150 hertz to 500 hertz. No, there isn't. So what I have often wished that you could do would be to have RC Link settings in Betaflight tied to a value, to have not just the RC Link settings, but also, like, what about the RSSI DBM threshold? The RSSI DBM threshold, where Betaflight says low RSSI, that depends on your packet rate, right? So I wish that there was a way that Betaflight could learn from the receiver, basically, some information that let Betaflight tweak some of its CLI commands. So, for example, the receiver could say, hello, I am using 150 hertz packet rate, and Betaflight would go, oh, somehow I know that means that I should load this RC Link preset. And somehow I know that my RSSI DBM threshold should be X. And then if I change that threshold, that value could be communicated in a different way. Well, it's an open source project, Bardwell. Why don't you write the code if you want it so badly? Well, I'm not a coder. But it would be, I think that's very, very called for, and I think it would be very useful. And as we go into a world, it used to be that you flew whatever RC Link you flew, and that was it. But these days, we are often changing the RC Link presets, and I think that's a missing thing. It would also be great to be able to say in EdgeTX, this model should use 1000 hertz. This model should use 50 hertz. So that when you load different models or even different receivers, automatically those settings were preserved based on the receiver. The best way to do it, from a user's perspective, the best way to do it would be to have the ExpressLRS system remember the settings so that when a given receiver reconnected, it would load the settings that were previously used by that receiver. That's my thinking. And then having that information be propagated back to EdgeTX would be maybe useful, further useful, but that would be the beginning of the functionality I would ask for. And I know that we have a thing called model match, but model match requires me to load different models, and that it still doesn't quite exactly do what I want. Then the ideal would be to have one model, but the RC Link settings, the ExpressLRS settings, are tied to the receiver, and as I change drones, those settings are preserved. Well, I know that model match is the thing, but it doesn't do exactly what I'm asking for. So that's my wish. Alrighty. Here's a super chat from Marty Sepp. Thank you for 10 euros, Marty. What's the absolute cheapest you can build a 5-inch for and get into the air for basic freestyle? I feel like you can get it under $250 with a little effort. To get it much under $250 is a challenge for a 5-inch. That's what I say.
We should do the EOS Roast at $100 if you want to do that first.
Oh yeah, fuck. Yos Faros, thank you for your very, very generous donation, as always. Happy holidays, says Yos Faros. What are you looking forward to in 2025? Events, gatherings, new tech. What am I looking forward to in 2025? I'm excited to see what the 04 air unit brings to the FPV world. Always fun when DJI brings a new thing. I think it's likely that Walksnail will drop something. Maybe that new video system that they were saying that was going to come out in August of 2024. It hasn't happened yet. But maybe that'll finally come. And I'm really excited to see Express LRS branching out, bringing both 900 and 2.4 megahertz together, or 2.4 gigahertz together. For a lot of hobbyists, I think we're going to see some interesting radios coming out in the future. Yeah, and I think we're seeing a move to bring more manufacturing back to the United States, and I think that there are pros and cons of that approach. But I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. I think that the desire to bring manufacturing back to the United States, I think there's a lot of benefits. I think that if it is accompanied by restrictions on importing of materials, then I think that's going to be a net negative for the hobby, and that'll suck. But it is exciting to see companies manufacturing stuff in the United States, and just, it just feels good to see stuff being done locally. And I definitely think that's an area where we've been missing out. Like I think it would be good for people to have the option to buy domestically produced stuff, and currently they just don't have the option. I think they should also have the option to buy stuff produced where it's cheapest, because if everything was domestically produced, then I think the price of things would significantly increase, and I think more people would be driven out of the hobby. But I am looking forward in 2025, if I just put a very narrow set of blinders on, to seeing an increase in domestic manufacturing, which I think we're going to see. Yeah. Yeah, events. I don't know. I don't go to very many events lately. Yeah. Anyway, Adiabot, thank you for $20. The flight stats overlay remains on after arming my V2 goggles since I replaced the Runcam Blink Wasp camera for a Caddx Vista camera. That's a problem with your. What I would do is update WTF-OS and update the MSP OSD plugin, both on your goggles and on your air unit. That has to be a bug in WTF-OS, and updating will certainly fix that for you, because that's not a known bug as far as I know. Is anybody making a Second Amendment argument to protect our rights to fly? Not a political question, just a practical question. Thank you for a $10 super chat, Donald Cup. No one's making that argument. No one is currently making any argument in any meaningful sense, because, well, that's disrespectful. That's disrespectful to the work that activist organizations are doing. But what I mean is, like, when Tyler Brennan and Race Day Quads sued the FAA, one of the arguments that they made, if I remember correctly, was a Fourth Amendment argument. And when you're suing the FAA and your lawyer gets up in front of a federal judge and says, Fourth Amendment, Your Honor, well, there you go. Someone's making that argument. A lot of people are on the internet arguing about a lot of things, and I don't think that really holds a lot of weight with me because, just blah, 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 blah. Big deal. It takes a lot of internet chatter pulling in the same direction to really have any sort of sway in the real world. Otherwise, it's just noise. So yeah, somewhere out there on an internet forum or on YouTube, someone is ranting about how we should make a Second Amendment. Here's how the argument goes that I've heard. I'm not making this argument, but I'll parrot it. Well, I don't like that drones are being used as weapons of war, but as long as that's happening anyway, could we make a Second Amendment argument that drones are weapons and therefore protected by the Second Amendment? And no, not in any meaningful sense, because at their heart, laws and court decisions are not rote sets of rules that are interpreted by a robot, and then whatever the strict interpretation should be is what comes out of the court case. Laws and rules are interpreted by humans, and you put that argument in front of a judge, and there's basically a 100% chance that the judge will go, come on, we all know that's not what the Second Amendment means, and throw you out on your ass. And they will couch that in some legalese, but the bottom line is that question just absolutely fails the smell test to anyone who knows anything about the law. And maybe that's actually also the correct legal interpretation. But I've heard of so many cases where someone is going to make a legal argument and they feel that the fact that the legal argument is correct with the written interpretation of the law means that they're going to win the case. And I'm like, that's not how the law works, and that's not how the courts work. There's very much we all know what it really means, and you can't like loophole yourself into a conclusion that you want. You're out of here, and that's so no. Anyway, oh my gosh. We got another $400. Well, Yosfros wants to run the whole stream, so for $400, I'm going to let him. Yosfros, thank you again for your incredible generosity, as always. Is it just me, or was that not a very positive outlook for 2025? I mean, sure. I think that you definitely can find things to be excited about. Every time, you know what I'm looking for most in 2025? A race that I'm going to go to. I don't know when it's going to be or what weekend it's going to be, but some weekend, Kevin Turner, a friend of mine here in Knoxville, he's actually Evan Turner's dad. So, yeah, I know Evan Turner's dad. I know Evan Turner too, but I know Evan Turner's dad. So kind of a big deal. Evan Turner's going to be like, hey, we got a race going on to the 21st. Are you coming out? And I'll be like, I'm free that day. Yeah, I'm going to come out. And then I'm going to show up and I'm going to do a shitty job at the race. I'm going to not win. I'm going to get knocked out, and I'm going to have a great day just hanging out racing. That's what I'm looking forward to, right? Like, there's nothing specific I'm looking forward to in terms of, like, a specific event that I'm going to go to. I don't know. But what I'm looking forward to, if you want to keep it positive. But, as I, look at the year ahead, I think that there's, a lot of reasons why looking down at your local community, at yourself, at your own backyard, at your own friend group, and the flying that you guys are going to do together, or the content that you're going to create, because if you look up at the world at large, it's like in 2017, we looked out and nearly everything we saw was like positive. Like, yeah, there was some bad press around drones, but generally it's like, ooh, look at this new flight controller, look at this new motor, look at this new frame, look at this new version of Betaflight, ooh, look at this new YouTube channel, look at this new trick somebody did. And there wasn't like, oh, there are going to be tariffs, oh, they're going to ban drones, oh, we can't export from China, oh, everything's going to get more expensive, oh, drones being used as weapons to kill people, oh. There just wasn't all that, and now there is, and I don't know. It's hard to just sort of put on the rose glasses and think everything's going to be great. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know, man. Am I like somewhere out there? There's some bright-eyed person who's been in FPV for 6 months and just loves every single thing about it. And that enthusiasm that you have when you first start something is carrying them through, or they just don't know about the negative stuff. And I ponder who's right. You know, are they like more right because they're oblivious to some of the potentially negative stuff? Or am I more right because I'm taking a sober view? I don't know who the world needs more of, is people like that or people like me. But I'm just going to keep flying, keep doing my thing. Bayochi, thank you for 20 Brazilian reais. Just want to thank It's Blunty for the huge help today in Discord. He solved my build problem. Thank you, Blunty.
Happy to help.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, hey, can we...
yeah,
let's give this... this is a small opportunity to give a PSA about an issue.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so when we see arming flags in Betaflight, and we see calibrating and there's no gyro there, so the gyro is detected. Yeah, now it says calibrating, but I believe it used to say calib.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
Yeah, but basically, if you see that arming flag in Betaflight, typically the solution is that your gyro is not calibrating. Like, so you've either shaken it or moved it when you've shaked it or moved it when you tried to plug in. And so if you plug it in again and you set it nice and even and you try to plug it in and you see calibrating again and it won't go away, we often think like, oh, there must be something wrong with the gyro, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it just sits in calib and won't calibrate, that means there's something wrong with the gyro. Because it should always calibrate after 30 seconds at most or something like that.
Well, it turns out there's another reason it won't calibrate. In 4.4 and 4.5, this appears to not happen in 4.3. There's an issue with timer and DMA conflicts, such that if you have certain features on certain boards, you will not be able to calibrate the gyro. The gyro will still be detected and seen, but it will not calibrate. Okay, and these two features that I was able to identify through PRs and other people getting help are LED strip in the config tab and Barrow in the config tab. These both seem to share a timer DMA slot or something, some part of the config.
Barometer with LED strip. So you're saying on some but not all boards, if you turn on LED strip and Barrow at the same time, then the gyro won't calibrate.
Actually, it seems either one. Yes, it seems like either one. Like, so if you have both on, it won't work, and it seems like multiple, like I went through multiple PRs of this and multiple people getting it fixed, and it seems like turning off either one seemed to fix it. Like there's just not enough slots, and each one is filling a slot, and for some reason the gyro fills the slot last or something in the calibration step. Yeah. So something to know. If you have a board you think is dead, and you can't get the gyro to calibrate, and it just says calib all the time, you can try disabling Barrow and LED strip and see if that helps you.
That is extremely secure, extremely obscure. Well done, Blunty.
No problem.
You're the man. Blunty's the man when it comes to weird, obscure problems. For sure. All right. Hans asks, I get weird roll yaw twitches when pulling out of a dive with a Meteor 75 Pro. What should I try to resolve the issue? I'm going to guess you're experiencing yaw washout. Yaw washout happens when one of the rear motors goes, they call it saturation. That just means the motor went to 100%. And then it can't speed up anymore, but it kind of needs to speed up more to control what the quad is doing. So basically, the quad just isn't making enough thrust to have the authority it needs. And when one of the motors hits 100%, basically the whole quad kind of goes and kind of yaws to the left or to the right at the bottom of that dive. The answer is basically don't do that, right? Some people would like swap the motors for higher kV motors or swap the props for different props, and that can sometimes improve or solve the issue. You might make it better with PID tuning, but you're not going to fix it entirely. Probably, I would say, because it's fundamentally the issue is that the quadcopter simply doesn't have the authority to do what it needs to do. So the real answer is to fly around the problem. If you know that when you do a big dive and then you kind of pull out abruptly, that it's going to wash out, don't do that. Pull out less abruptly, right? Any thoughts on the shift to USA-made FPV gear? Thank you, C. Joe, for a $2 super chat. I did talk about that a little earlier. I'll sum up by saying that USA-made FPV gear has to be more expensive than foreign-made FPV gear. That's why it's made in foreign countries in the first place, because the combination of workers' regulations, labor regulations, environmental regulations, tax structures, etc., means that it's cheaper to manufacture in foreign countries, certain foreign countries, and therefore companies can make more profit by doing it. That's why they do it. So then if the companies move manufacturing to the United States, by definition, the price will increase because they are going to want to keep their profits. They're not going to give up profits. And there may be some flexibility there, but the price will go up. Hobbyists don't really give a shit about domestic manufacturing, by and large. There are some hobbyists that are particularly patriotic and are willing to pay a premium for USA-made products. But generally, hobbyists want to buy what's cheapest, and as long as it's not of terrible quality, they don't care where it's manufactured. So as USA-made flight components start to ramp up, the driver of that is going to be government and military purchasing, who have other reasons, strategic reasons why, they don't want stuff manufactured in foreign countries. Like, for example, someone manipulates the products before they get where they're going, and then the products don't do what they're supposed to do, or they do additional things, commit espionage and so forth, right? So those companies are going to be selling to government and military purchasers. And then hobbyists, the reason why hobbyists will make the switch is if there are policies that increase the price or decrease the availability of foreign-made stuff, like tariffs or like import restrictions. And then hobbyists will say, oh, well, I guess I have to buy this USA-made stuff at 2 or 3 times the price, or whatever the multiplier is. I don't know what the multiplier will be. Maybe it's not 2 times the price. Maybe it's 0.5x, whatever. But like I've already seen in 2020, when there were all these supply chain disruptions and the price of FPV stuff jacked up by 25 to 50%, and sometimes as much as 2x or 100%, same thing. And I feel like that definitively drove some people out of the hobby who simply couldn't afford to be in the hobby anymore. And I feel like any price increase has the effect of driving people out and reducing people's interest in the hobby. So that's most of my thoughts on the shift to USA-made gear. Blunty, I think you were trying to get in there. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, I just wanted, you sort of went where I was going to, you basically said you're not sure what the X increase will be, but like I linked the Rotor Riot Brave FC in the Discord, and this one to me is an outlier, and I don't really understand. Like, are they doing something to make this cheaper? Are we getting a cheaper price than the military? Like, I agree, this is a weird one, and I would like to say, you got me on the live stream before Christmas, and I haven't been drinking, but I'm just feeling a little loose tonight, so I'm going to speak off the cuff. But I would like to be very clear that everything I'm about to say is right off the dome, is my opinion, and is not based on any factual information, whether public or otherwise. And although I have a relationship with Rotor Riot, I mostly keep myself out of their business stuff and just leave it over there, in part so that I can just speak off the cuff during a live stream, and I don't have to be like, ooh, I know something secret that I have to protect. When I saw the price of the Rotor Riot Brave flight controller, and they said it was made in the USA, my first thought was, that's a lie. My thought was, it's not possible that they're making this in the United States and selling it at this price. I don't think it's possible that their cost is $48. I don't think there's any way that you could manufacture this in the USA and make a profit at selling it at $48. Now, that doesn't mean that they haven't figured out a way to do it that I can't conceive of. I am not omniscient. But that was my first thought. And I will say, I asked
and I feel comfortable sharing this because it makes Rotor Riot look good. So I don't think they'll mind if I share it. But I asked, I was like, guys, is this a loss leader? Are you like intentionally selling this at a loss so that you could, I don't know what your motivation would be. Because like, if they're selling it to the public for $48 and then they get a military contract, they can't just go charge the military $150 because someone will go, wait a minute, that's the exact same product you sell to the public for $48. You're gouging us. Someone in contracting eventually, like, so if they sell to the public for a given price, yes, I know there's the military markup, but like, that's the price, right? You can't just like double or triple the price and say, well, screw you, you're the military. So like, I don't think the theory that they're selling it at a loss to the public in order to get the military contracts, which they will then mark up, that doesn't seem like that's how contracting works, but I'm not an expert on that. So I can't make this make sense. But I agree, it's ludicrous. I have talked to people who do manufacturing. I'm not going to name names, of course, but people who make flight controllers both in and outside the U.S., and they're like, there's no way that I could do that, they say. I don't know what Rotor Riot's doing. There's no way that this manufacturer who I talked to, he said, there's no way I could make a flight controller in the U.S. for that price. I don't know what they're doing. Go ahead, Blunty, if you want to add something to that. You brought the topic up, so then I just went off.
No, that's exactly what I was asking. I mean,
yeah.
I know who made this. I know where it was made.
You do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you? But you're not allowed to say.
As far as I know, I'm allowed to say. I'm not.
Who do you think made it? Who do you think made it?
It's Tanner Ewing. Hold on, let me get this. Tritium is a engineering firm. It's the same people who made the RID module, flight test RID module.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Tritium's. Tritium. Yeah, there you go. That guy.
So this was designed by him, according to you?
At least assembled in their factory. They have a two-sided pick and place. I'm trying to find the engineering page.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I know they have the ability to do this work, and they do it here. So the question is, where is the money, and how do they do this, and like, what do they assemble? Presumably they have a PCB. They're ordering the PCBs in, and then they assemble all the PCBs.
100%.
Right?
That's like, again, that's not me speaking from fact. It's just that's how everyone does it. You don't make the PCBs in the USA because you're not required to. What these guys are trying to do is comply with the National Defense Authorization Act, and NDAA says you are allowed to import raw materials as long as they're assembled in the U.S. So they can buy all the chips from China. And in fact, some of the chips on this board you can only get from China. And some of the chips on this board, like the little capacitors and resistors, are so much cheaper to buy from China that's just what everybody does. So they buy what I assume they do, because it's what everyone does, is they buy the PCBs, they buy the chips, they buy all the parts, and then they put it all in the pick and place machine, and they place them and solder it here in the U.S., and they go, see, it's USA made.
Yeah,
so I agree with you there.
Yeah, I put the link in the chat. That's the actual one.
Mm-hmm.
In the Discord.
Oh, in the wrong Discord window. Sorry. Here's the Discord window. TritiumElectronics.com. Embedded Systems Manufacturing. So, but again, I've talked to people who say that the BOM cost of this, the bill of materials cost, plus the obviously the rent on the warehouse, the maintenance on the machines, like that there's just no world in which this is profitable if it's made in the US. And I certainly am. That was my gut reaction. And I'm not an expert on that. And the bottom line is there's something going on here that we don't know. And maybe it's that Rotor Riot or Red Cat has figured out a smart way. Actually, it would be Unusual Machines. Sorry, not Red Cat. Rotor Riot's owned by Unusual Machines, which is distinct from Red Cat. They figured out some way to do this cheaper than anybody in the whole market can, in which case, God bless them, enjoy making your money. But here's the thing I don't understand. Here's the thing I don't understand. And again, I don't understand it. And that means that somebody is smarter than me at the table. More good. That's exciting. Why are they selling it for $48? Let's say they manufacture this thing for $25. That's their cost. So then they have a 100% profit margin. They're selling it for $50. They manufacture it for $25. They're making $25 on every flight controller. Why are they selling it for $50? Why aren't they selling it for $60? At $60, it would still be very competitive. Why wouldn't they take $10 more in profit per unit? The typical reason to reduce price is to increase volume, and you're trying to find the optimal price where you're making as much money as possible. It's hard for me to believe that their volume at $50 is so much higher than their volume would be at $60. Why wouldn't they sell it for $60? So again, there's a lot that's confusing about this flight controller, and guys like Drew Camden and Jeff Thompson and I don't know who the hell else. That's why they're running the business and making $1 million and not me.
Yeah, the last thing I want to end with is that this is an NDAA product. They're pitching it as such. It's all labeled as such. I do not think there's any world in which they would lie about that. And I know the firmware it was made, I trust the people who I talked to. I know that it was made there beyond all reasonable amount of doubt that I can pose. Yep. So that means that for some reason, we've got a $48, they're calling it 58 discounted to 48 on their website, so that's worth thinking about. For some reason, they're selling this FC. So I think then we have to assume either, like you said, they found some way to make it cheaper. They know how to get these components somehow. We don't know, maybe they're tacking on to some other giant engineering project, right, that's also ordering the same pieces for private equity, right?
We don't know.
It could be, right? Maybe. There's all these layers that could be happening, right, and that we can't really know for sure, but I think there are, like, if you reach out and think about it, there are ways this could happen, right? Your bomb could get really low if you're somehow getting to jump on with somebody else, right? Like, and now we're offering you these chips for cheap because you're giving us this other deal through a parent company like Red Cat, for instance, right? I don't know this, but I'm just saying, like, let's say that engineering firm got a deal from Red Cat too. That's a private deal they'll never talk about, but now they're allowed to use that BOM cost for the other flight controllers or something, right? It's just speculation, but I can come up with these worlds where this could happen. That's all that I mean.
Yeah, and sure, but I still don't understand why they would sell it for $50 and not, say, $60. And again, I'm not a business guy. Maybe somebody did the market research and they found that the optimal price where they maximize profit is $50. It feels to me like that is too low. There's almost no flight controllers on the market for $50, never mind a made in the USA flight controller. If they sold it for, I don't know. I mean, the SpeedyBee F405 stack is $60 for the flight controller and the ESC. Maybe that's not as low a price as it feels like they are.
Well, can I just say one more thing? Is that, like you've talked about before, is how much are you really selling to hobbyists when you call it made in USA? You have to be competitive.
Not at all.
So I think when you're talking about what the difference is when you start to go up $10 or $20, like, I think it actually does make a substantial difference to the end user because they don't care about the tag. Like, you know what I mean? But it's going to be about convenience and what you package it in with and like other things like that, right?
As long as we're just shooting the shit, Blunty, if it's an NDAA product, I agree. They're not selling to hobbyists. Hobbyists don't give a shit about NDAA. So if it's an NDAA product, then your ultimate customer is a government or military buyer who presumably is buying in large volume, at which point, why wouldn't you mark the price up? Because when the military buys your flight controller, they don't give a shit if it's $50 or $75 or $100, right?
I don't agree with that, but I don't agree with the statement you said earlier, which is that they can't sell it for way more money to the military. That's what they always do. That's what everybody does. If you have to name it a different SKU, you do -T, and that's the military version. Like, you can find a way to do it, right? Like, you slap a new silk screen on the board that says whatever, and then now it's the special military version that you're going to pay 10x for because it comes from the defense contract.
You're not wrong. I see Stacy, FPV Mama, is in the chat. I'm going to make her a moderator real quick. Just so she shows up in blue. I would like to be really clear. She just said, I was very careful about my wording, and I would like you guys to understand that. One of the things she said is, it is absolutely made in the USA. Can I be clear that at no point did I question whether it was made in the USA? But what I said was, if it's made in the USA, this is a confusingly low price, and I cannot understand how the price is that low. That's confusing. At no point did I question whether it was made in the USA. I want to be really clear. I just pulled Stacy out of bed. I assume Stacy goes to bed at like 8 p.m. with a glass of milk. And now if she's jumped out of bed in her pajamas because she's found out we're talking about her. She also says we don't do military markup. Which I presume means that when Rotor Riot sells these products to a government customer, they charge the same price that they do to the public. I commend Stacy and Rotor Riot's willingness to make such plain and bold and straightforward statements like that. She also says, see, this is the thing. Here she is right here saying it is not a loss leader. So she's saying we make it in the USA. We don't mark it up for the military. It is not a loss leader. Ergo, we make a profit on every one, which means that they figured out how to make a flight controller for less money than every single other manufacturer in the market, which is astounding. But that's what they're saying. And that's all they've ever said. No, FPV Squadron, you don't deserve a video proving it. Because the minute you start trying to prove it to the haters, you just give them more ammunition to question you. I think Stacy's approach is 100% right. People will be like, oh yeah, it's made in the USA. Show me the factory. And then you're like, okay, fine. You'll do a factory tour. And people are like, that's not the flight controller I bought. It had a different chip on it. You're lying. They just give them more ammunition. No, you make the statement. You say, believe me or don't, and you leave it at that. I think that's the right approach, and as much as I'm an expert on marketing, I think they're doing it exactly right. So. And frankly, my next thought is, I wish I knew what their secret was, but I kind of don't, because it's kind of more fun. It's like when somebody does a magic trick, and you're amazed and astounded, and then they show you how the trick was done, and you're like, oh, you're kind of not impressed anymore. I kind of like living in the mystery of not knowing how the hell Rotor Riot is doing this.
We can quickly break the mystery. Someone told them cheap parts. There's only one piece left, right? They can make it for cheap. That's made in the USA. Like, what else is there? The parts go under cheap. The assembly's cheap, right? Those are the only things it could possibly be. That's how this works. Right?
I don't know.
So they found a way to get cheap things. There's no other pieces to the puzzle. She's already answered the other pieces.
There's the materials cost. There's the bill of materials cost.
And there's the assembly cost.
And there's the assembly cost. And there's, you're paying rent on the building. You're paying the employees to run the machines. You're paying for maintenance on the machines, yada, yada, yada. Don't know. It's something. And I don't think, and honestly, I don't think Rotor Riot should, and obviously, Stacy, I don't mean to tell you your business. I certainly would never presume to tell you, because clearly you're doing smart things that I would never even have thought of. So keep it up. But I personally hope that Rotor Riot keeps their secret to themselves. Like, if it turns out they somehow got all the materials for 5 years worth of boards at 1/10 the normal cost, like they fell off the back of a truck or something, and they were like, great, we're going to make cheap flight controllers. Don't ever tell anyone. Just let everybody keep guessing and do your thing. Anyway. Well, this has been fun. I knew I would stir the pot with this one. Hopefully, it's been a good topic to talk about. Okay, let's move on. Marty Sepp, Stacy, you're welcome to keep answering questions in the chat as long as you like, obviously. You're welcome. You do whatever you like, obviously. You're my guest here. Was hoping to get some pointers or specifics. What is the absolute cheapest 5-inch digital Crossfire 6S for basic freestyle? Emax Eco? No, I'm sorry, not Emax. iFlight. iFlight Eco? iFlight Nautical Eco? Does have an 03 version. Yes, it does. And like it's like if you're going to build your own, you could get it slightly cheaper, but not by much. $371. DJI 03 Air unit. Price? $179. So $372 minus $179. You're paying $200 for the rest of the drone minus the O3 Air unit. That's going to be hard to beat. Like, almost anywhere else you go, you're going to pay, could you get a frame for $35? Let's see. How much is a Source one? Oh my God. Oh, that's just the arms. Thank God. It was like $15 for the frame. Where's the actual frame? Oh my God. Please tell me I can buy the frame. There we go. $30, $32 for the frame. You could get a frame for $32. Okay. Minus $32 for a frame. Motors. Emax Eco 2 2207. Motors. $16, maybe a little cheaper, but I'm not sure I would trust a motor that's cheaper than that. Minus $16, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 motors. Flight controller and ESC. Let's get the Speedy BF 405 stack. Hello. Go. No, I want the stack. Oh my God, kill me. Sorry, don't. That was just an expression of frustration and not a literal statement. Please don't demonetize my channel. F405, $72. Okay, great. Minus $72. $25. We have the O3 is already baked into this price. We have the frame. So basically, if you build it yourself and like 2 sets of props, okay, minus like $12 for a couple sets of props. I think it comes with 2 sets of props. So basically, if you... Oh, and we didn't count the receiver, but this is without the receiver anyway. So basically, if you try to build your own with reasonably priced but bargain products, you're not going to save hardly any money compared to just buying the Eco. If you buy... And you're going to get a bargain basement frame, which is probably not as good a frame as the Nazgul frame. So you could probably buy really cheap and terrible stuff and get that price down a little bit. You're not going to save. You're going to save maybe 25, maybe $50 at most by buying your own stuff. You're going to get a much worse product, and you're going to have to build it yourself versus having a bind and fly. Just buy the Nazgul Eco. The other one is the Gep RC Vapor. This one is also pretty competitively priced. I'm not going to do the math, but the Gep RC Vapor is also pretty competitively priced with the O3 and is pretty good. That's what I'd recommend you buy. You can't get that price down by very much without making big compromises in the quality, and it's nice to have bind and fly. All right, Blunty. Real quick, are there any other... let me just real quick go back, because I know Stacy has been commenting, and I just want to make sure her comments make it to the stream and not just the chat, because if she took the time to come here and respond to the comments, that deserves to be highlighted. She says the price for the Brave flight controller is $58, but we know we have to earn trust in our products and that there will be learning we go through, so early adopters buy in at our discounted rate of $48. Right? That's very... great way to do business. Our goal is to try to bring all of our U.S.-made components to market at no more than 20% more than a comparable Chinese-made component. So the idea, I think, is that it's going to be more expensive. And the definition of comparable that leaves some wiggle room, I think that there will be hobbyists who say, your product is so much more expensive. And Rotor Riot says, well, look at this comparable product. See, it's only 20% more expensive. And the hobbyist goes, yeah, but there's this other product that's 50% the price that's good enough. And so that, to me, is what I'm comparing it against. And so there's going to be some wiggle room there, but that's fair. Yeah. All right. She says it's not just NDAA, it's also Blue UAS approved, which makes it easy, not just for military, but other government buyers as well. The Blue UAS product requires a very strict government audit. That is correct. If someone is saying they have an NDAA product, well, they can say that, But the minute they actually go and get a government contract that requires NDAA, if they're not actually NDAA, it's going to be a big problem for them as soon as anybody finds out. There was a story recently where I'm not going to name names because I don't want to take the chance that any of my facts are wrong and I malign a company to my own and their detriment. But there was a situation recently where a company that had been awarded an NDAA contract through one thing and another, it was accused that that their products were not NDAA compliant, and was a big kerfuffle for them. It reflected badly on them and potentially cost them that contract and future contracts. So if somebody says they're NDAA and actually tries to get NDAA contracts, they damn well better have all their ducks in a row. And then as Stacy points out, I mean, the NDAA thing, you basically file paperwork when you apply for the contract and you say, I am NDAA compliant, I promise. And you make a list of all your stuff and where it comes from. But then, like, the contracting office probably may not do a lot of due diligence on that, may just take you at your word and get the products. But if you go for the Blue UAS, you have to go through an audit, and they really do take it seriously. So if you're Blue UAS approved, it's pretty legit. So thank you, Stacy, again for taking the time. What would be the best motors for the Oddity RC XL35 Pro to get the best freestyle-like performance? Planning on using O3 only, no GoPro. Oddity RC XL35 Pro. Oddity RC XL35 Pro. The Oddity RC, this is a... Ooh. That's just not a freestyle quad, man. That's not a freestyle quad. The best thing to do to get freestyle-like performance out of this would be to, have a different frame. This is a Cinewhoop style frame. It's designed for smooth cinematic flying. It's not designed for freestyle. And just doing a motor swap isn't going to suddenly turn it into a freestyle monster. You're really in a situation where you've got a fairly well-balanced formula. And it's like if you take a car that's like a nice, lightweight, small-engined autocross sports car, right? And it's not super fast in a straight line, and it's not super fast around the track, but it handles really nicely. It's like a Toyota BRZ, right? Handles really nicely, does what you want it to do, is fun to drive. And then you take and you put a turbocharger in it. And so now it makes a ton more horsepower, except suddenly you're just spinning the wheels out of every corner because there's too much power. Okay, so then you put wider tires on the rear. Oh, except now the suspension isn't right. So now you tweak the suspension and you're just chasing your tail. And you can, obviously people do that and it's fun. But like what I'm saying is that you've got a fairly well-balanced machine that's designed to do a certain job, and that job is not freestyle. Can this quad fly freestyle? Yes, some. It's not what it's optimized for. So then you put on bigger motors, except now you're down that chasing your tail. You're not gonna fundamentally change its character just by swapping the motors. I would recommend finding something that is more of a 3-inch freestyle drone that isn't designed as a cinema drone, and then just buying that or building that, and just leave the Oddity 03 being good at what it was designed to do. Stacy must have a siren in her office for when I start talking about Rotor Riot. Boop, boop. Bardwell's talking about Rotor Riot. Boop, boop. Andrew Kennedy, thank you for $5 Australian. G'day, mate. I have a 5-inch. That's racist. I have a 5-inch 2700 kV 4S, 400 grams. What battery for 5 to 10 minutes? What props would you recommend? For props, man, it's hard to get a wrong 5-inch prop. Just like it's Just buy a grab bag of HQ, Gem Fan, 5-inch props. And just try them, see which one you like. They'll have different characteristics, but none of them are going to be so far outside the pale that they'll just be like wrong. And then for a battery, for a 4S, you're going to want something around a 1500 milliamp hour battery. Now, you want 5 to 10 minutes. Like, you can get 5 to 10 minutes off like a 1500 milliamp hour 4S. 1600 milliamp hours. That battery should weigh about 200 grams. So if you're unsure about the size of the battery, look at the weight. And it should come in around 200 grams. I know that because the rule of thumb for a freestyle drone is that the battery weighs about half the dry weight. So a 400 gram drone, 200 gram battery. If you're going hard, you're not going to get 5 to 10 minutes of flight time. So you might think, well, I'm going to put an 1800 milliamp hour battery on there. And you can do that, but now it's going to fly worse, right? So if you want longer flight time, go to maybe as much as an 1800 milliamp hour, maybe even a little heavier than that. But like, again, you have to think about what the thing is designed to do, right? A 5-inch freestyle drone is designed to do freestyle. And based on the weight of the battery and the agility of the drone and the thrust of the drone, it typically flies for between 3 and 5 minutes, depending on how hard you're flying. If you design a 5-inch drone that flies for 10 minutes, it's not a freestyle drone anymore. It's something else. And it's because it's going to be so heavy that the type of moves people do when they tend to do freestyle, it's not going to do them well. Now, hang on. There's some latitude there. Because people take a 400 gram drone, put a 200 gram battery on it, and have a 200 gram GoPro. So 4, 5, 6, that's an 800 gram drone. And nobody would say that's not a 5-inch freestyle drone. So could you take a 400 gram drone and put a 300 gram battery on it? And you're still at only 700 grams? And now you've got longer flight time? Yup, 100% you can do that. And you totally should. If you want longer flight time, and you're not carrying a GoPro, feel free to spend some of that weight on a battery. And I'd be happy with that because 700 grams is still a wonderful weight for a 5-inch freestyle drone. It's going to handle beautifully. It's going to handle even better if it's 600 grams. So, your call. But that's how I think I would sort of split the difference there. Find a 300 gram battery. How many milliamp hours is that? I don't know. Go look. Go look at batteries and find one that weighs about 300 grams. And I think that's going to get you close to what you want. All right. That's it. We're caught up on the super chats. Can you develop a nice drone to make the hobby accessible to all the normies? You know what's making the hobby accessible to the normies? Where's this new... I'm going to plug Rotor Riot. Okay. Ooh. Let's see. Where is their new kit? Where's that new kit they have?
Pro Start, I think is what it's called.
Pro Start?
Is that the one you're talking about?
You know what I'm talking about.
2 words. Pro Start.
Naturally. Where's the kit? Did they take the kit's out of stock? Did they take it off the page?
Just look at it.
There it is. I don't know why I can't find it. Maybe it's out of stock. This is pretty compelling. So it's out of stock right now. So I'm wasting everybody's time by plugging it. But there you go. This is what's in this kit. It's $500 first of all. But look at what's in it. You got the Dominator 2 goggles, the Walk Snail HD goggles. You've got a Radiomaster Pocket Special White Fat Shark Edition. Who cares? Whatever. It's a Radiomaster Pocket. It's the good budget radio to buy today. You got a Vision 40 drone, Special White Fat Shark Edition. Ooh, who cares? You got some batteries and props. You got a Whoop Store charger, Special White Fat Shark Edition. Who cares? That's a great charger, a fantastic charger. Frankly, it's the best. Are these 1S or 2S? I think it's a 1S. This is the best 1S charger you can buy today, in my opinion. I'm guessing that's a battery pack? I don't think I've seen that before. Well, shit, look at that. A rechargeable battery pack for the goggles. Slick. It comes in a case. Big deal. And when Stacy told me about this first, she said, she didn't tell me the price. She said, how much should this cost, in your opinion? And I think she was, if I had come back and said like a much higher number, I think they would have been like, oh, good, we say we're underpriced. I think she was a little worried that I would come back and say a much lower number, and they'd be like, ah, shit, are we overpricing it? But I just sat there and I was like, okay, Radio Master Pocket, $60, whatever. I added up the retail price. You know, Dominator goggles are the one that's kind of a big question mark. In fact, in some ways, I think this whole project is designed to get rid of backstock of Dominator goggles that Fat Shark is stuck with. That now that the goggles X are out, people aren't buying the Dominator goggles anymore, and they were like, well, how can we get rid of them? But I added up all the stuff that was in there, and I went $500. And she was like, that's exactly what we charged you for it. I was like, okay. So this is pretty compelling, right? Like the Walksnail goggles are technically not like they still work with all Walksnail stuff today in every way, but theoretically, someday if Walksnail releases Gen 2 of their system, then these goggles won't work with Gen 2. But who knows when that'll ever happen. They're solid goggles. Don't have an analog input. Who cares? Maybe you care. I don't know. Vision 40 is a solid drone. Good drone. I enjoy it. I really like the way it flies. And it's all in a kit. Like, this is pretty solid. $500. Get you in the hobby. It's out of stock right now, but you can notify. I think it's a good deal. And yeah, I really do think that this whole project, I mean, obviously Rotor Riot wants to make products that get people into the hobby that are easy to use, and they've done that. But I really do think this whole project started with somebody from Fat Shark going, Jesus Christ, guys, I can't believe how many Dominator goggles we made. And then Cadix effed us over by releasing the Goggles X, and nobody's buying them anymore. Oh no, what are we gonna do? And then they came up with this, and I think it's a fantastic idea. Oh God, Stacy's still in the chat, and I'm just talking out my ass. Oh God. Oh wait, no, those are old comments. Thank God. Okay, she's gone. She's gone. In case anybody thinks that my affiliation with Rotor Riot would make me not speak my mind. All right. Best Bardwell funny story, FPV or not, please. Merry Christmas. Thank you for $20, 73 FPV. What's my best funny story? Ugh. I have to ask my wife. I always tell other people's funny stories. What's my best funny story? Okay. Oh man, this is a gross story. This story is I'll try and make it as not gross as possible. Once upon a time, I was at a party, and I had been drinking. Because it was a party, and I'm an adult. I'm allowed to do that. And I didn't drive home because that would be irresponsible. See, this is an uplifting story. And I went to sleep in, I don't know, a couch or a spare bedroom or something. I don't remember exactly. It doesn't matter for the story. And when I woke up the next morning, I was in a different bedroom. And the person whose bedroom it was said, in the middle of the night, you kind of just wandered into the room. And this was a friend of mine, so it wasn't like weird. It was probably a little bit weird. And they could see that I was basically sleepwalking. And they were like, "Come here." And they put me to bed, and they went and slept somewhere else. And I woke up the next day, and it was very confusing because I very much remembered going to bed in one bed and waking up in another bed, and was like... So they told me the story, we all had a laugh, and I went home. And This was during the winter. And later that spring, several months later, they found out why I had gotten up in the middle of the night. As a person who's been drinking and falls asleep is wont to do, I had to pee. And I got up in the middle of the night to pee, and because it wasn't a strange house, I didn't really know where the bathroom was. And they were getting ready to go camping, and they got out their cooler to get ready for camping. And suffice it to say that the cooler was not empty and had not been empty for months since I had got up to find somewhere to pee. And I heard this story. I didn't know this story for the longest time because they gracefully did not tell me this story. But at some point, we were sitting around a campfire and telling funny stories, and they told this story as a funny story. And I was mortified. But I mean, what are you going to do at that point? Anyway. And I know there are people out there for whom that's a normal weekend. And suffice it to say, it was not a normal weekend for me. It was an unusual weekend, which is, I don't want you guys to get the impression that I make a habit of that or made a habit of that. But that's a pretty funny story that belongs solely to me. So I was like, so did you throw the cooler out, or did you just like bleach it a lot and then use it? Like, the least I could do is buy them a new cooler. It had been so long that it was all sort of in the past. Anyway, Blunty, do me a favor. Don't put that on the Livestream Clips channel. That one's just for the live viewers. All right? Yeah, Prop Junkie. Exactly, Prop Junkie. I'm proud of myself. I got up. I was so inebriated that I did not remember getting up to walk around, and yet I found a relatively appropriate place to relieve myself. A nice little cooler. You open up the lid, you close the lid afterwards. No one found it for like 3 months. I think that means I did the right thing. All right. Merry Christmas. Thank you for the super chat. Juanito, thank you for 159,000 RDR. Can you name the best Cinewhoop drone in your opinion for me? I'm new in FPV. Every day I'm watching your content over and over again to learn to build, etc. We did like a 15-minute segment yesterday. Oh, Cinewhoop, not Tiny Whoop. Cinewhoop. My favorite Cinewhoop is the Gep RC Cinelog 3.0. I've had a lot of experience with it, and I think it's very good. There are other good ones out there. I'm not trying to claim like it's hands down the best, but it so happens that I've had hands-on experience with this. I've seen these get the shit beat out of them. They're obviously nothing's indestructible, but they're relatively durable. They fly relatively well. And they're sort of my go-to when people ask me to recommend a Cinewhoop. So the Gep RC Cinelog would be, I would get the 3.0. For outdoor flying, maybe the 3.5. But the 3.0 is a good one. And that's what I would steer you towards. I have a 5-inch Nazgul. Will a 95C 3,000 milliamp hour battery be okay for freestyle, or would the C rating be too low? The C rating is fine, but a 3,000 milliamp hour is way too heavy. Way too heavy. I assume you're talking about a 6S. Way too heavy. That battery's way too big. You're going to want a 6S around 1,100 to 1,400 milliamp hours at most. The 3,000 is just you'll probably get off the ground, but Yeah, no.
Under suspicion, I'm also going to say LiPo. I mean, 95C, I guess, kind of has to be, right? But 3,000 milliamp hour is just a weird LiPo size for 6S to have.
Yeah.
So.
The 3,000 milliamp hour lithium ion could work. That's like an 18650 6S1P 18650 is going to be around 3,000 milliamp hours.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be 95C.
It's not going to be 95C though. There's no way. It's going to be like 45C or something. So if it's 95C, we can assume. I mean, if it was 6S2P, it might claim 95C on the label, but it's not going to be 3,000 milliamp hours. Then it's going to be 6,000. So either you're talking about a lithium ion, in which case the C rating is not high enough and it's not 95C, or you're talking about a LiPo, in which case it's way too heavy. So that battery's not going to work. Oh no, FPV Mama's still here. I'm talking shit about her company. I think it's a good dynamic, Stacy. I talk shit about the company in the mildest possible way, and then you show up and you take it gracefully and you set the record straight. You know? I think that's a good dynamic. Go ahead, Blenty.
Alex says it weighs roughly the same as 1,500 with a GoPro. He has a 6S LiPo. So, I mean, you could just pretend you could practice for GoPro until you get another battery, but, I mean, it's not, it's just going to be heavy compared to that.
No way.
I mean?
No way. I mean, I guess if a 1,500 is, no way. You know that guy on TikTok who's like, no way. Like,
I
and
don't,
he tests,
and I'm proud that I don't.
He he'll like watch a TikTok and they'll be like, did you know that if you stand a ladder against a wall, you can press the ladder straight up against the wall and it won't fall over? And he's like, what? No way. And then he goes and he tests it. And that's his like tagline. Did you know you can separate 2 5-gallon buckets with an air compressor and you squirt the air in? And what? No way. That's what I feel about this. 6S 3000, 10C. Fucking 10C. 10C. Give me a break. Oh, it's a LiPo. I want a LiPo, right? 50C. Let's put 95C in here. What battery is he even talking about? What battery is he even talking about, Plenty? Is it high volt? Is it lithium high volt? What battery are you talking about? Tell me the exact battery. Is it 6S? Yeah, we need facts. Here's a 6S 100C XT 150.
3,000.
3,000. Oh, 3,000. Thank you. Thank you. That's not bad. Can't remember the brand, but from the iFlight store. Okay, no problem. Full send. Is it 4S 3000? No, because that's not 95C.
He said 6S.
Fuck. Oh my god, it's so painful. Full send 6S 3300. Is it this one? It must be that one. 95C, yeah, okay. 3300 6S 95C. Weight 442 grams. Yeah, okay. If a typical 6S battery, like I say 200 grams, but oftentimes they're 220, 230, then you got another 200, 210 grams for a GoPro. Okay. I don't like it. It's not going to fit on the top plate very well. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's too big, but you're right. 400 grams for the drone, plus 4, you're at 850 grams roughly. That's a flyable weight. I don't like it. I don't like a 5-inch at 850 grams. I don't think it flies good. I don't like the way it feels. It will fly and it'll be okay though. It'll just be heavy and kind of drifty. Oh God, I'm sorry, man. For a $5 super chat is not enough to get me to even go near this question with a 10-foot pole. I will say that, no, forget it. Sorry, man. A $5 super chat is not enough for me to, like, touch this question with a 10-foot pole. Sorry. I've spoken about that topic before in various ways, and then the chat just goes off the rails. So they're just not going to do it tonight. Sorry. Blunty, you proud of me?
Yes.
You didn't think I was going to do it, did you? You thought I was going to take the bait. Merry Christmas, Blunty.
That's what I always wanted.
Me to shut the hell up and just answer questions. Oh, God. Level 1 drone says, what does it mean when you arm your tiny whoop and the motors spin and stop individually in a pattern? Not stuttering. They spin and stop and spin again with an unusual ESC tone and then stop. You have bidirectional D-Shot enabled, but you don't have Blue Jay on your BLHeli-S ESC.
You left the beeper on and tried to arm. Isn't that what it does?
Won't. No. I don't. If you there's a wait time. If you've beeped to the motors, you have to wait like 5 seconds before you can arm or something. I don't remember the timer.
I remember there's some. I can hear the sequence in my head. Like when you see the little motors, each motor will individually spin differently, and you'll hear deep 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 deep. I'm trying to remember what happened. What
you're saying is the beeper is on, and the beeping itself is causing the motors to twitch.
I don't know, but that like reminds me of what he's here. Like if you think about what a beeper does, right?
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like a beeper.
Well, I think he's seeing this. I think he's saying do. I think that, except it's not do because that'd be a power cycle. I think he's saying do as the signal goes in and out. That's my guess. I don't know. My guess is that you have bidirectional D-Shot enabled, but your ESC doesn't support bidirectional D-Shot. Turn bidirectional D-Shot off, and then see if it works normally. Yeah, you guys don't know. FPV Mama is the president of Rotor Riot. I didn't know that also covered Fat Shark, Stacy. That's interesting. I thought Rotor Riot. I'm not trying to get into your business. I thought Rotor Riot and Fat. See, this proves how much I don't pay attention to like the whole corporate business stuff. When I say that like I'm friends with Rotor Riot, I support them. You know, we work together on products sometimes, but mostly I just kind of leave them alone to do their stuff with the business, and I focus on the channel and I focus on the products. I thought Rotor Riot and Fat Shark were parallel under Unusual Machines, and I would think that the president of Rotor Riot was not the same as like the president of Fat Shark. That's interesting. She says that also covers Fat Shark. Interesting. There you go. Fat Shark is a brand under Rotor Riot. Oh, that's great. I'll tell you guys. The first time I really took notice of Stacy was when she ran Rampage for the first time, Rotor Riot Rampage. You guys may not know this, but I have experience running large events. I was one of the founding members of a sort of a music festival type event that at its largest year was about 3,500 people. And I started as the security team lead, basically. And then eventually was a board member for several years. And and anybody who's done this knows the amount of cat herding required to pull off a large scale event with hundreds of people, with tens of vendors, with the logistics of getting everything where it needs to be, and making sure that all of the attendees are like happy and satisfied and having a good time. It is extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And the person who gets the worst of it is the event lead. Because, like, if you're a team lead, then you can focus down on your team. And, like, but if you're the event lead, everyone needs something from you all the time. And I kid you not, like, I watched friends of mine who were event leads basically from Thursday morning to Monday evening essentially get almost no meals except what someone handed them while they were running from one place to another in a golf cart, and like very little sleep because they were like, I'm taking a nap. And then they'll go into their tent, and like 45 minutes later, somebody will be like, where's so-and-so? I'm calling him on the radio. There's an emergency. And it's just ridiculous. And when she took over Rotor Riot Rampage, Stacy, FPV Mama, the first year she did that, Rotor Riot, I'm not going to say Rotor Riot Rampage was better run, because from my perspective, it was always very well run. But it was very well run with a lot of cat herding going on in the background and a lot of chickens running around with their heads cut off. And when I saw her running the event, I was like, oh, this woman has it together. Like, she has a talent or a skill for just juggling all the balls and keeping all the plates spinning at the same time. And not to say that she wasn't working, but like, she was clearly good at it. And the event as a whole felt extremely well run. And I was like, my God, Rotor Riot needs to hire this woman at the very least to run Rampage forever. And then I found out they made her vice president of operations and was like, even better. Yes, let her run the whole company the way she ran Rampage. And then Drew moved on and they made her president. And I was like, well done. So now I find out that she's got both Rotor Riot and Fat Shark, and I'm like, just keep moving on up. Because, like, except, God forbid, she Peter principles herself to a level that she can't excel at. But so far, I don't think she's found it. So, anyway, good for her. What are the pros of updating Betaflight config if the current older version seems to work for my setup? Betaflight Configurator, you can update. I would keep Betaflight Configurator up to date. Because there's almost no downside to updating Betaflight Configurator to the latest version, and a lot of times you get little UI enhancements. There are very, very old versions of Betaflight firmware that don't work with the newer configurators, but they're so old that it's like so unlikely that you'll encounter it. Okay? So update the configurator all you want. But Betaflight firmware on the flight controller, my policy is leave it alone unless there's a new feature that you really want. Like, for example, Betaflight 4.4 added high-definition OSD to the digital VTXs. So instead of a big OSD, an analog-style OSD in the middle of the screen, you get a high-definition OSD out at the edges of the screen. You could use the whole screen. That's a feature worth upgrading for. But if there's not a killer feature that makes you want to upgrade, just fly the old one. Your quad probably flies fine. It's probably not going to fly radically better on a new version of Betaflight. And in fact, if your quad has been PID-tuned well on Betaflight 4.3, and then suddenly you move it to Betaflight 4.5, maybe now your PID tune doesn't work as well, and you actually end up with a worse flying quad, right? So generally, I'm a fan of leave well enough alone. And if you're dying to try out Betaflight 4.5, build a new bird and put it on Betaflight 4.5 and try it out. But on the other hand, nothing's stopping you from doing a CLI dump. Save your CLI dump, flash to the new version of Betaflight, try it out, and if it doesn't work out for you, just flash it back and reload your CLI dump and you've lost nothing. So there's that as an argument as well. Drew was the president of Rotor Riot, and he moved to Unusual Machines, Rotor Riot's parent company. I don't know off the top of my head what his exact title is at Unusual Machines. Stacy is here, and she may be able to tell us. I'm sure she knows. Drew left as president. Stacy was vice president. Stacy moved to president, and Drew moved to Unusual Machines. COO, Chief Operations Officer, according to Joseph Tahari. Thank you, Joseph. and honestly, and I mean this with all due respect to Drew, I think Stacy's doing a better job than he was. Honestly. I think he's better in the COO position than the president position, as the you don't get to know scandal might highlight. Again, for anybody who thinks I'm on a leash, there you go. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the new update of Trip FPV Simulator, where we can find your house as a map? I think it's amazing. Trip Simulator, now there are 2 simulators out there that have my house as a map. One of them being Liftoff, which was the first, and the other being Trip Simulator. So check it out. Oof. Sunshine, for you, I'll do it. Did Sunshine post it in the Discord? For you, I'll do it, man. Sunshine's a patron. He's been in the Discord forever. He wants me to check out his golf flyby. My first instinct was, I don't want to like pick apart this guy's video on a stream, but Sunshine knows what he's in for. So, okay. I want to be clear that I'm just going to watch this and give you my thoughts. It's very likely that you had specific, like, the customer may have specific goals or specific requests that contradict what I would ask for and what I would think. So we'll keep that in mind. But I'm going to turn the music down just in case there's, like, copyrighted music. So that's looks like a good color grade to me. To my eye, like this looks like a frame grab from a video. This is not a great choice of still. Like, as I look at this picture, I see almost nothing. The sky is completely blown out. The trees are in shadow. I think there's a person here. I can see this path. I get the vague sense that there's grass. There's this blurry thing in the top. Yeah, this to me is not a good... You could call it a color grade if you want, but it's not the colors, it's the exposure. Like, my eye is drawn to the center of the image first. I see nothing. I kind of think there's a person here, maybe, so then my eye is drawn to a person, but the person is in shadow and I can't really tell what they're doing and they're super small. And then, like, my eye just does not know where to go next. I'm teeing off from the tee box. I don't know, there's a house over here. Can't really see it. Yeah. So, enough said. Oh, here we go. Okay. So it's going to start moving. Okay. Did I jump the gun? No, I didn't jump the gun. Hold on. How long is this segment? Okay, wait for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 seconds of a still while this teeing off from the gold tee box animates in. The whole time I'm looking at that, I kind of don't know what I'm doing. I would start the animation immediately with no still. I think you paused on the still to let the title come in. You don't need to do that. They'll figure it out. And they can rewind if they want to. Or pull back the handle and get a lead in so that, like, the drone is approaching the tee box as the title comes in, but at least there's some movement and you're not looking at a static image. I thought it was a still slideshow because you got a still here, right? So, okay. So on this one, do a little Ken Burns style, very, very slow zoom in or zoom out probably. Do a very, very slow zoom out, like just 5%, right? But at least there's some motion in the shot. It's not a still. And then on this one, either just start the movement immediately or drag the handle back so you get a little more lead in, but have movement, you know? Stabilization is really good. I don't find it distracting. It's rock solid. I like the way the drone moves. There's no little weird wibbles and wobbles in the stabilization. And we're just following the green roughly as if we were the golf ball headed down to the hole. I don't know how much you have to work with in your raw footage, but I hate this. And like, I know high contrast color grades are like a cinematic thing. It doesn't feel like what you're going for here. There's like no shadow detail here. This is all just totally wasted, right? And if it's like here, okay, so there's no shadow detail in the trees, fine, but I'm looking at the green, I'm looking at the sand pits. But as soon as we get to here, like, I got nothing. I got nothing in this shot. Like, I have to, that's a nice move. I like so much about that move. And now we got, okay, great. I have to imagine, like, it feels like this was shot on a GoPro and you didn't use the flat color profile and the GoPro just baked in this exposure and now you're fucked because there's nothing left to pull out of the footage. If this was shot in flat color profile, go back and regrade it and give me a little more shadow detail. So in shots like this, I'm not just staring at a big blob of black. It kind of looks like trees. What camera did you shoot this on? Like the way these leaves are going into the... I'm curious what camera you shot it on, Sunshine. Yeah. He's going to tell us. Hero 9 with a flat color profile. Okay. My gut feeling is that a good editor could get a better color grade out of that. Sunshine, I'll make you an offer because I have an editor and well, it's his Christmas break right now. If you send me the raw footage, I'll send it to Fabio and say, can you take a pass at this? And he'll take like 10 minutes and take a pass at it. And I'll bet he'll get a much better result. But at the very least, you can kind of see what a professional color grader would do with that footage. Or if you're, I'm going to guess you're not a professional color grader. No offense if that's what you were going for. What resolution was it shot at? Yeah. I think, Sunshine, here's what I would say. The actual move and the stabilization, the move was very good. I think you aren't a good color grader and you did your best. And like, I look at some of my old videos that I thought I got a pretty good color grade on this and they look like garbage compared to what a professional did. No surprise. So like you did a good job for not knowing what the hell you're doing. But I think you could get much better results if you knew what you were doing. The quadcopter move is choice. Very good. All right. That's my thoughts. But seriously, send me the footage. I'll send it to Fabio. He'll take 10 minutes and see what he gets out of it. And maybe there's nothing there. Maybe that you just got the best you could get out of the footage. But maybe you could do better. And then you could just use his edit. I'm sure he'd love to do it. We have about 8 minutes left in the stream, guys. Again, happy holidays to anybody out there celebrating Christmas or whatever this week. We got a lot of questions that we're not going to get to because I've just kind of been shooting the shit because it's my last stream before Christmas, so I'm kind of taking it a little easy. That's cool. Email your questions to jb@joshuabardwell.com if I didn't get to them.
A lot of people want you to talk about that drone, the drones that fell out of the sky in the last show. You hear about that?
I saw those questions. You tell me, Valenti. I saw the headline and I was like, great, another drone show where drones fell out of the sky. Like, what's there to say other than, drones fell out of the sky? I mean, it's not the first time it's happened.
Yeah, I think that's what I would say too. Is like, yeah, when we were doing the news, which we are no longer doing. Back when we were doing the news, we did cover quite a few of these shows. I feel like at least happened once a year for a couple of years, but then we got a couple extras. A lot of them were into the water when the drones failed. But there's rumors of an injury, which maybe is why it's going on, but they're not confirming it's from a drone. They're just saying somebody was taken to the hospital. So. Wow.
Well, I mean, if somebody got taken to the hospital, that's kind of a big deal. Yeah. They full throttled out of the sky. Here's the thing, though. Other than oohing and ahhing at the tragedy, I don't know what we have to add. Like, I have no insight as to why it happened. I have no, like, opinion about what should be done as a result of this. You know? So it would just be like, it happened. And I just, like, that's not, like, the content I feel like making. If you were offering me something, you know, like, if it was, like, something I was like, oh, I got to see that, then I'd watch it on stream and I'd react to it. But, like, you know, there was a drone show where the drones glitched and they flew out of the sky and they hit people. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what happened. So I just don't feel like I have anything to add. I don't know. Hi, Mox. Aaron Ciotti says the props on the Meteor 75 Pro, the stock props are not good and you need a different set of props. Ciotti, are you here? Ciotti! What props should he get on the Meteor 75 Pro? I know he's here. He was here earlier, so I assume he's streaming. Which HQ props, dumbass? HQ. Yeah, no shit. Which ones? There you go. Thank you. HQ 1.6 by 1.2 by 2. Okay, hi, Mox. Buy the... yeah. You're not the only one who can curse on stream. HQ 1.6 by 1.2 by 2. Merry Christmas, Ciati. Thank you for €5 from Martin Seppi. Thank you for your kind words, sir. Hopefully, hi, Mox, when you get those props, you'll find it handles much better. I knew it was HQ props. That's why I said that. I knew it was HQ. I just didn't remember the exact model. All right, guys. We got just a few more minutes. Aaron Ciotti is going to be streaming. He's going to post a link to his stream if you want to keep the love going. I'm going to be wrapping up in just a few minutes. Oh, and then I'm going to wrap Christmas presents, and I built I'm getting my son an upgraded computer for Christmas, and I told him he had to help build it because I was like, I feel like that. I just was like, you know what? Let's make him work for it. So we built the computer today, and when it came time to power it up, the motherboard didn't power up. So now I have to spend as much time as necessary between now and Christmas morning trying to make his damn Christmas present work. So that'll be fun. That's probably what I'm going to be doing. I'm
going to say, do the reminder for the obligatory extra power connector that the motherboards have that people forget about.
Well, I'll tell you, I built it with a friend of mine who builds computers all the time, and I'm going to assume he got that right, but that would certainly explain it.
I've done that before a couple times.
I'll look. God, I hope that's it. God, I hope that's it. Yeah, so if anybody wants to DM me on Discord who's a pro at computer building, I've built a lot of computers years and years ago, but not recently. And my first thought is I'm going to pull out parts and try to boot the motherboard and see what's going on. But I will tell you, I was smart enough to jump the pins in the 24-pin connector and force the power supply on, because that's an old trick that I still remember. And the power supply powered up and all the LEDs came on, but the motherboard just stayed dark. So that's not true, actually. There's a little glowing LED on the motherboard that I don't know what it does, but that did power up. Did you read the manual for the motherboard? Shut up, Brandon Beans. No, I didn't read the manual for the motherboard.
I mean, so just a couple things to consider since you haven't built a computer in a long time. Okay. Now, sometimes you need a BIOS update to use certain processors. Also, certain RAM slots have to be used in certain orders.
How am I supposed to update the BIOS if the board won't power up?
I think you can flash without a processor. I think you take the processor out, you flash the BIOS through USB, and the
So
back
this
with
is-
a button. I think that's
this
how
is
it
the-
works. It's been a minute since I've done it.
This is the first thing I want to do, and I guess I should check for that connector because that's an easy one. But like what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to strip out the GPU, strip out the memory, maybe even strip out the processor, and then try and power the board up and see if it even makes a sound or makes a beep or anything. It's AMD. It's an AMD motherboard.
I mean, AMDs are pretty notorious for needing firmware updates for later processors. So,
Fuck.
BIOS updates.
Yeah, it doesn't even
Also,
beep. It doesn't do anything.
There's no a little LED, like a number readout on that board either.
There are status LEDs. I don't remember what they're for. There's for the CPU, the voltage regulator, then there's 4 status LEDs on the motherboard. And then, there's diagnostics, so.
I agree. It should still power on, and you should get an error.
Yeah, exactly. And you should be able to boot to BIOS. All right, so we're not going to troubleshoot this on the stream anymore because it's 10 o'clock. It's time for Ciati. But if anybody wants to DM me on Discord, and I'll get back to you tomorrow as I'm frantically trying to fix this computer for him.
I was going to say, I'll offer to you as well if you just want to call me.
Do you build computers, Plenty? What don't you do,
I built
man?
my last one. Yeah.
All right. All right, well, maybe I'll get on. I'll pay you $50 an hour, which is your troubleshooting rate.
Sounds good.
No, I was joking. You were supposed to say, oh, you don't have to do that. It's Christmas. We're friends. Damn you.
I just want to remind you, Root 2 Close says 2 power connections, north 4 or 8 pin, and then a 24 pin. So if you have only plugged in that 24 pin main connector, there should be another 4 or 8 pin connector somewhere that you need to plug in.
I confess, I do remember that from the last computer I built some years ago. And it was the first one where you had to do that. I do remember that. Although I confess that I was the proud father watching and taking pictures while my friend who builds computers was walking my son through the process. So I don't know whether they plugged in the aux power. I would think he would have, but it would be great if he didn't, and that was an easy fix.
I've seen so many mistakes. One time I had my friends built a computer and brought it over to me to fix, and the result was that they had forgot to put standoffs on the case under the motherboard. So the entire motherboard was grounded against the case and had fried immediately the first time they tried to power it.
Well, this case has standoffs built in.
Yeah, just so you, I mean, there's so many weird issues you can have when you're building. So.
All right. Brandon Beans points out that the manual would have made that requirement clear. Brandon Beans, stop it. I don't read manuals. We did read the manual once it started breaking. Once it wasn't working, we were reading the manual. But all right, guys, thank you so much for being here. We're going to let it go. Yeah, Blunty.
I want to say one more thing, which is that there's a weird thing, and it should power everything else up, but AMD motherboards now also tune the RAM when you first power them on, so sometimes it's 1 to 2 minutes of the red LED flashing and you think your computer's not working, but it's actually going through and clocking the RAM up, and then it's testing that the clock works. So just consider that there is a 1 to 2 minute delay the first time you power up with the red beep.
But I'm talking about we pushed the power button and literally nothing changed.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we unplugged the header for the front because maybe the switch is busted, and we manually jumped the pins that the power button goes to. Nothing changed.
Gotcha.
When I manually bridged pins 4 and 5 on the 24 pin connector, the power supply came alive, but again on the motherboard, nothing changed. There is an LED, like a multicolor LED on the motherboard. I don't know if it's just ornamental or if it means something. It does power up when you flip the power switch. So the motherboard is alive, but it will not actually power up. And so anyway. All right, well, we'll work on it. But thank you guys for your assistance. And hopefully my son will get a computer for Christmas instead of for the day after Christmas or whatever. Damn it, Zip369. Sounds to me like a DOA motherboard. I fucking hope that's not the case, because that's going to be so disappointing. Remove RAM and CPU and try to power it up. Okay. So check the extra auxiliary power connector and remove RAM and CPU and try to power it up. That's what we're going to do. Great. Thank you, chat. Bye, everybody. Have a great stream, Ciati. I'm out of here.